At our wedding, my husband's mother pointed at the cake and screamed, "That's not the flavor I ordered." He turned around calmly and said, "Exactly. It's her choice, not yours anymore." I laughed. "Want a slice of humble pie instead?" I remember my wedding day like it happened yesterday. Not because of the vows, the flowers, or even the love I felt standing next to Nathaniel. No, I remember it because of her. Hyla, my mother-in-law. The woman had been a thorn in my side since the moment Nathaniel and I got engaged, but nothing compared to the stunt she pulled at our wedding reception. The ballroom at the Astoria Hotel was beautiful that night. Soft golden lighting, elegant white roses at every table, a live jazz band playing in the background. It was exactly how I had dreamed it, everything I had meticulously planned down to the last detail. But as I stood greeting guests with Nathaniel, my cheeks aching from hours of smiling, I heard it. A sharp, outraged voice cutting through the laughter and music like a blade. "That's not the flavor I ordered." A heavy silence fell over the room. Heads turned. A few guests awkwardly cleared their throats, pretending not to hear. But I heard. And worse, I knew. I closed my eyes briefly, inhaling deeply before turning around. There she was, standing at the cake table, her perfectly manicured finger jabbing at our 5-tiered wedding cake. Hyla's face was twisted in fury, her lips pressed into a thin, disapproving line. Nathaniel's grip on my hand tightened. I could feel the tension rolling off him, but he remained calm. He walked over to her, his voice low but firm. "Exactly," he said. "It's her choice, not yours anymore." Hyla turned to him, her eyes flashing. "But I specifically told the caterer." I stepped in, cutting her off with a smile. "Want a slice of humble pie instead?" A few guests chuckled. Hyla's nostrils flared, but she knew she was outnumbered. With a tight, forced smile, she muttered something under her breath and stormed off. I exhaled, shaking my head. Of course she had to cause a scene. But in that moment, I thought I had one. I had no idea how wrong I was. The honeymoon phase didn't last long after the wedding. Nathaniel was amazing, attentive, affectionate, the same man I had fallen in love with. But Hyla? She didn't take her defeat quietly. She was relentless. At first, it was small things. Passive-aggressive comments on Facebook about wedding traditions being ignored, or young brides thinking they know better. Then it escalated. She would show up unannounced, letting herself in with the spare key Nathaniel had forgotten to take back. I'd come home from work to find her sitting on my couch, sipping tea like she owned the place. "Oh," she'd say, barely glancing at me. I was just in the neighborhood. Then there were the comments she'd slip into conversations. Always sweetly worded, but dripping with venom. "I just worry, sweetheart," she'd say, tilting her head at Nathaniel. "A man should be the leader of his home. Are you sure you're making the decisions, or are you just saying yes to whatever she wants?" Nathaniel would roll his eyes, always reassuring me that he had my back. "Ignore her," he'd say. "She's just stuck in her ways." But I knew better. Hyla wasn't the type to give up. And I was right. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when everything changed. I was lounging on the couch, scrolling through my emails, when one subject line made my stomach drop. "You deserve to know the truth." My heart pounded as I opened it. The message was short. "Your husband has been meeting up with someone else." I thought you should know. There were attachments. Photos. Nathaniel, sitting across from a woman at a cafe, holding her hand, leaning in close. I stared at the screen, my breath caught in my throat. My vision blurred at the edges, my hands shaking as I zoomed in. She was blonde. Pretty. Someone I had never seen before. I swallowed hard, my mind racing. I called him. The phone rang once. Twice. "Hey, babe," he answered, his voice casual. I didn't hesitate. "Who the hell is she?" A pause, then a sigh. "I was going to tell you," he said, his voice suddenly heavy. A sharp, bitter laugh escaped me. "Tell me what, exactly?" "That's my ex," he admitted. "Vanessa." The name made my skin crawl. "And why the hell are you meeting with her?" His voice was measured, careful. "My mother set it up." I nearly dropped the phone. "What?" "She's been pressuring me to talk to her," he said. "She just wanted me to." "I don't know, see if I made the right choice." My stomach twisted. "So you went?" "I met her once," he said quickly. "To tell her I was happy. That's it. I swear to you, I didn't cheat." I wanted to believe him. But trust, once cracked, is hard to repair. And Hyla? She had just declared war. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I played the long game. I started keeping records. Every time she called, every message she sent, every underhanded insult she delivered, I saved it. I documented everything. I waited. I bided my time. Then, the perfect opportunity fell into my lap. Hyla's annual charity gala. The event she had spent years building, the one that meant everything to her. High society, local politicians, people she desperately wanted to impress. I had my plan. That night, as the room buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, I approached her with a polite smile. "Hyla," I said, holding up my phone, "I think you dropped this." She barely spared me a glance. "What are you talking about?" I pressed play. Her own voice filled the space between us. "Nathaniel, you need to end this marriage. You belong with Vanessa. I don't care what you promised that girl, your future is with someone of our class, not some nobody who thinks a wedding cake is a battle worth fighting." The blood drained from her face. Around us, people turned, listening. The whispers started. I tilted my head. "Would you like to explain, or should I?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. I turned to Nathaniel, my heart pounding. "Do you want to tell them if she was telling the truth?" For a moment, he said nothing. His face was unreadable. Then, finally, he looked at her and said, "Mom, you crossed the line." Her world crumbled. I walked out of that gala with my head held high. Nathaniel cut ties with Hyla after that night. It wasn't easy, but he chose me. As for me, I learned that marriage isn't just about love. It's about standing your ground. It's about making sure no one, not even family, can undermine what you've built. And sometimes, revenge isn't about getting even. It's about making sure they never try you again. The fallout from that night at the gala didn't happen all at once. It unraveled slowly, like a thread being pulled from a sweater, one tug at a time until the entire thing came apart. Hyla didn't disappear quietly. She never would. For the first few weeks, it was radio silence. No calls, no surprise visits, nothing. It felt almost unnerving, like the calm before a storm. Nathaniel and I tiptoed around it, pretending things were normal. But deep down, I knew she wasn't done with us. And I was right. It started subtly, first with mutual acquaintances suddenly acting different. I'd run into people from Nathaniel's side of the family, and they'd give me polite but distant smiles, their conversations clipped and careful. Then came the whispers. I overheard one of his cousins at a dinner party murmuring to another guest, "Well, she humiliated her in front of everyone. What did she expect?" I knew they were talking about me. The real blow, though, came one evening when Nathaniel came home looking exhausted, his face tight with frustration. "She's been talking to my dad," he said, dropping his keys onto the counter. That made me pause. Nathaniel's parents had been divorced for years, and his father, Arthur, had always kept a neutral stance when it came to Hyla's drama. He was a quiet, logical man, not easily swayed. If Hyla had managed to get him involved, that meant she was desperate. I crossed my arms. And what did he say? Nathaniel hesitated. Just that I should consider mending things with her, he admitted. That she's still my mother, and that no matter what she's done, she's family. I felt my stomach twist. I knew this game. Hyla wasn't apologizing. She was reframing the narrative. She wasn't the villain anymore. I was. And she was using every connection she had to make sure people saw it that way. It didn't take long before her campaign against me became more blatant. One afternoon, I was having lunch with my best friend, Camille, when she suddenly let out a sharp breath, her eyes widening at her phone. "What?" I asked, sipping my iced tea. Camille hesitated. "I don't know if I should show you this." I reached for her phone. "Oh, just give it to me." She slid it across the table. It was a Facebook post. Public. From Hyla. A long, dramatic paragraph about how some people think they can turn a son against his own mother, but true family bonds can't be broken. The comments were flooded with sympathy. Her people, were rallying behind her. "Stay strong, Hyla. You raised such a wonderful son. He'll see the truth eventually. Some women don't understand what family means." I could feel my blood boiling. Camille sighed. "You know what she's doing, right?" "She's baiting you." I nodded slowly, setting her phone down. I knew better than to engage. That's what she wanted, for me to get angry, to react, to feed into her little victim act. So I didn't. At least, not in the way she expected. 2 weeks later, I played my next move. I invited Arthur, Nathaniel's father, over for dinner. Nathaniel was skeptical. "You know she's already poisoned him against you, right?" I smiled. "Exactly. And that's why I'm going to fix it." That night, I made Arthur his favorite dish, homemade lasagna. He was polite, though a little stiff at first, clearly expecting a confrontation. But I didn't bring up Hyla. I let the conversation flow naturally, steering it towards neutral, comfortable topics. And then, when the moment was right, I casually mentioned the gala incident. Arthur listened quietly, his fork pausing midair. I kept my tone even, factual. No anger, no exaggeration, just the plain truth. The recording, the manipulation, the way Hyla had been actively trying to sabotage my marriage. When I was finished, he set his fork down and sighed. She didn't tell me any of that, he admitted. Of course, she didn't. I could see the gears turning in his head. Arthur was a businessman, practical, logical. He didn't like being used. And Hyla? She had underestimated how much he valued truth. That night, as he left, he shook my hand. I appreciate you telling me your side. And just like that, Hyla's grip on the family's loyalty weakened. But Hyla wasn't done. A week later, Nathaniel came home with an odd look on his face. She showed up at my office today, he said. I blinked. What? She just walked in, sat down like she had every right to be there, told my secretary she was there for a family emergency. I clenched my jaw. And what did she say this time? Nathaniel hesitated. That she wants to have dinner. Just the three of us. To fix things. I laughed, sharp and humorless. Oh, that's rich. What, so she can try to guilt trip you in person? He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. I don't know. Maybe she really does want to talk. I stared at him. Do you believe that? He hesitated. No, but I feel like I owe her a chance. I swallowed the bitter retort that sat on my tongue. Fine. If she wanted dinner, I'd give her dinner. But she had no idea what was coming. Dinner with Hyla. The idea of sitting across from that woman, pretending to entertain whatever manipulative nonsense she had planned, made my stomach churn. But I wasn't about to back down. So, I agreed. We met at the Bellamy, one of those overpriced French bistros Hyla loved because it screamed old money. The kind of place where the waiters barely spoke above a whisper and the portions were insultingly small. Nathaniel and I arrived first. He looked tense, drumming his fingers against the table. I, on the other hand, was oddly calm, because I knew this wasn't just dinner. This was war. And Hyla? She was about to realize I wasn't playing defense anymore. She arrived precisely 10 minutes late, just enough to establish that she was the most important person at the table. She swept in wearing a tailored navy dress, pearls draped around her neck, and that signature smug expression plastered on her face. Oh, darling, she cooed at Nathaniel, ignoring me entirely. You look so thin. Has married life been draining you? Nathaniel exhaled sharply. Mom. She finally looked at me, forcing a tight-lipped smile. Dear. Hyla, I returned, matching her fake warmth. We ordered. She took her time perusing the menu, asking ridiculous questions in French just to show off. I sat patiently waiting. I didn't have to rush. She was the one who had called this little meeting. I just had to let her dig her own grave. Once the waiter left, Hyla folded her hands on the table and sighed dramatically. I think we need to have a serious conversation, she began. I raised an eyebrow. About? She tilted her head, giving me a pitying look. About moving forward. Nathaniel stiffened beside me. Moving forward how? She sighed, playing the role of the concerned mother flawlessly. Darling, I understand that you love your wife. That's a strong start, I muttered. She shot me a glance before continuing. But marriage is about family. About unity. And I feel like some people at this table have been doing everything in their power to isolate you from the people who truly care about you. My nails dug into my palm, but I kept my expression neutral. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. Mom, if you're about to start accusing her of, oh, honey, I'm not accusing anyone, she interrupted, placing a delicate hand over her heart. I'm just pointing out that ever since the wedding, things have been different. I barely see you anymore. I have to hear about your life from other people. That's because every time we invite you over, you turn it into a damn interrogation, Nathaniel snapped. Hyla blinked, clearly not expecting him to push back so quickly. She turned back to me, this time with a softer expression, one I didn't trust for a second. I know we've had our disagreements, dear, but I'm willing to put all of that behind us. If you are, I tilted my head. You want me to just forget that you tried to sabotage my marriage? She let out a small, airy laugh. Oh, come now. Let's not be dramatic. I was simply looking out for Nathaniel's best interests. I leaned forward slightly, my voice calm but firm. Hyla, you set up secret meetings between my husband and his ex. You told people I was controlling him. You tried to turn his own father against me. That's not looking out for him. That's manipulation. For the first time, I saw a flicker of something in her eyes' surprise. She wasn't used to me calling her out so directly. Nathaniel cleared his throat. Mom, you have to stop. You're not helping. You're making everything worse. Hyla exhaled, tapping her perfectly manicured nails against the table. Nathaniel, sweetheart, I'm just trying to protect you. I don't want you to wake up one day and realize you made a terrible mistake. I stiffened. Nathaniel's expression darkened. A mistake? She met his gaze head-on. You're young. You don't see it now, but enough, I interrupted, my voice sharper than I intended. Hyla's eyes widened slightly. I leaned back, shaking my head. You didn't invite us here to make peace. You invited us here to win. Her lips pressed together. I gave her a small, humorless smile. That's the problem, Hyla. You think this is some kind of competition. But you already lost. You lost the moment Nathaniel chose me. Nathaniel reached over, squeezing my hand. Hyla sat there, frozen, as if the weight of those words had actually sunk in. For the first time, she had no response. And that terrified her. The waiter arrived with our food, breaking the tension. Hyla straightened, smoothing out her dress. Well, she murmured, voice tight. I suppose we'll see, won't we? I didn't know exactly what she meant. But I knew one thing for certain. Hyla's words at dinner, I suppose we'll see, won't we? Lingered in my mind for days. They weren't just words. They were a promise. A threat. And I wasn't about to sit around and wait for her next move. If she wanted a war, I was going to end it. I spent the next few weeks being careful. Watching. Listening. I knew Hyla wasn't the type to attack head-on, not when she could manipulate others into doing her dirty work. Sure enough, she started working behind the scenes. A neighbor of ours, Diane, who had always been friendly, suddenly became distant. I ran into her at the grocery store, and she could barely meet my eyes. Finally, after some pushing, she sighed. Hyla's been talking to people, she admitted, saying that you're controlling Nathaniel, that you're trying to cut him off from his family. I clenched my teeth. Of course she was. But that wasn't the worst of it. A few days later, Nathaniel came home looking furious. Mom's been talking to my boss. I almost dropped the plate I was holding. What? She called him. Said she was concerned about me, that I'd been distant lately. That maybe my home life was affecting my work. My stomach twisted. Hyla had gone too far before, but this? She was now actively trying to sabotage his career. Nathaniel sighed, rubbing his temples. Luckily, my boss just laughed it off. He knows how she is. But I can't keep doing this, babe. I can't spend my life cleaning up after her messes. I placed my hand on his arm. Then maybe it's time to stop cleaning up. Maybe it's time to let her fall in her own mess. He frowned. What do you mean? I took a deep breath. It's time to hit her where it actually hurts. Because I finally understood something. Hyla didn't care about family. She didn't care about Nathaniel's well-being. Hyla cared about status. About reputation. And that was something I could destroy. I spent the next few weeks gathering my ammunition. Hyla had spent years cultivating an image of the perfect, refined, high society woman. She thrived off the admiration of her social circle, the charity events, the invitations to exclusive gatherings, the whispered approval of other women like her. So I started collecting receipts, old emails, text messages, social media posts. I went through everything, every snide remark, every manipulative message, every passive-aggressive jab that painted her as a controlling, toxic force. And then, I pulled out the ace I'd been holding onto for months. The gala recording. The one where she told Nathaniel to leave me. Where she flat out admitted she didn't care about his happiness, only about keeping him with someone of their class. I made sure it was neatly compiled, documented, organized. Then, I waited for the perfect moment. Hyla had her annual spring benefit brunch coming up, a lavish, invite-only event with the city's wealthiest women. The kind of event where she played the gracious host, ensuring that everyone saw her as the epitome of class and generosity. I wasn't invited, of course. But Camille was. And Camille? She owed me one. She walked into that brunch with her phone in hand, set to autoplay. Right as Hyla was about to give her speech, the audio started playing. Loud, clear. Nathaniel, you need to end this marriage. You belong with Vanessa. I don't care what you promised that girl, your future is with someone of our class, not some nobody who thinks a wedding cake is a battle worth fighting. The room went silent. People exchanged glances. Some awkwardly sipped their mimosas. Others whispered to each other. But one thing was clear, Hyla's carefully crafted image was shattering in real time. She tried to recover, of course. Laughed it off. Oh, my, that must have been doctored. You know how technology is these days. But the doubt was there. The embarrassment. Because the one thing Hyla couldn't handle was being exposed. Her friends started backing away. Invitations quietly stopped coming. The charity circles she adored? They started distancing themselves. And Hyla? She was livid. She confronted Nathaniel later that evening, voice shrill. You let her humiliate me? Me? After everything I've done for you. Nathaniel, calm as ever, just looked at her. Mom, you did this to yourself. She turned to me, eyes blazing. You think you've won? I tilted my head, smiling. I think I'm done playing. Hyla stormed out that night. And for the first time, she stayed gone. After that, things got quiet. No more surprise visits. No more passive-aggressive Facebook posts. It was like Hyla had finally realized she had no power left over us. Nathaniel and I moved forward, free from the constant weight of her manipulation. And Hyla? She was still Hyla, too proud to ever admit she was wrong, too bitter to apologize. But she knew better than to try me again. Because in the end, she didn't just lose control. She lost the one thing that mattered most to her. Her reputation. And I didn't even have to lift a finger to destroy it. I just let the truth do the work for me.